Happy Saturday from a chilly Pennsylvania. Hope everybody's doing good. Did anybody happen to go shopping yesterday? I avoid Black Friday. I think I went once over the years and never again. I just can't handle the crowds. So today, I'm just going to show you how to put the boxes together for our embossing folder storage. And I wanted to make a video recreating these two cards. The Thursday that I created these, I had inadvertently changed cameras and forgot to change the settings in the camera's program. And the video turned out horrible. So I've had some requests to do these two cards again in a better video, and that's what I'm going to do today. Now, before we get started, we're almost at the end of the month, and I just wanted to remind everybody, if you've ever thought about becoming a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and you don't have to do what I do, you could just enjoy the 20% savings on your orders. You can think of it as like a Sam's membership. Each time you order, you save 20%. Well, for the month of November, you can get a starter kit that's usually $99 for just $75, and you can choose, thanks, Stu, you can choose $125 worth of product of your choice. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you on my team, and I could talk to you if you have any questions. Okay, so a couple Saturdays ago, wow, let me just turn this light off for a second and see what happens. That's really not that much better. We were working on the embossing folders, and this is for the larger embossing folders, and this is for the smaller ones. Now, I covered both boxes, and we created them I guess last Saturday, and I just wanted to show you what I did was I added some tearing tape to the back side. I didn't even cover it. I just added some tearing tape, and here we go again with all these papers from the tearing tape. And I just wanted to quick show you how to put them together. Now, I am going to use, let me see if I have the right one. Nope. I am going to use some added glue in between the tearing tape just to give it an extra, naturally it's got a clog, just to give it some extra staying power. Just like that. And I want it just about centered in here, so I'm just going to lay it down and eyeball it, and then I'm going to push these two together. And you just want to make sure that they're really nicely adhered. So now, like I said, let me just grab two of my folders. So I grabbed two of the same size. There we go. So this section is for the large ones, and I think, like I had mentioned, I'm going to use my label maker, and I'm going to mark and put labels on each of my folders. And then for the little ones. And this way, all my embossing folders are in the same place. Now, for the base, I just made a quick base. Nothing fancy, just the chipboard. And it measures, looks like 6 7/8 by 6 3/4. And I just wanted a little bit of space around the edges. And I did the same thing again. Added some tear and tape. More lovely paper. You know how much I love this paper. And again, let's just add some glue because we want this to really stick. Not that you're going to move it around that much, but just clear that out a little bit again. I think I'm coming to the end, that's why. Okay. And then we're just going to get it on here so it is centered a little bit. And turn it over and just make sure it's adhered. And there we go. For our embossing folders. So there's another storage unit or storage container ready for my room. Before I got on, I was looking at my contour, the scallop contour dies, and I'm missing one for some reason. I don't know what I did with it. So now after the video, I'll be on a search for this other die. Okay, so we'll create these cards once again. So let's work on this one first. It's a little easy. We're going to take some basic white, and it's 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And then I have a piece of smoky slate, and this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and we are going to adhere this to the front of the card. Oops. Got to open up another glue, so we'll just use the seal for now. And we're just going to line this up. I usually have about 1/8 of an inch between my layers. And I usually don't like using seal for these layers because I can never get it on straight for some reason. So let me just pull a glue out. Thank goodness for this glue. Oops. Okay. That'll be easier. Alright, now for the next layers, that's my inside. I'm using Blush and Bride, and this layer I'm actually going to pop up on the front of the card. But before we do that, we're going to grab our basic white layer, and this is 3 3/4 by 5. Now the PDF for these cards are in the group already. You'll have to search, and I'm trying to think. I'll have to check to see what I labeled it, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, I labeled these cards. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and I think that's what I named the PDF. So I'm going to grab some Blushing Bride ink. I didn't even get my stamps out, so just give me a second. Get a block. And we're just going to take the trees from the Whimsical Trees stamp set, and we are going to stamp the background. I am actually going to do it full strength So we're just going to randomly stamp these trees, and that's one. Now we'll grab one of the little ones, and I'm just doing them randomly just to fill in the background a little bit. I'm actually going to put one here, even though we'll have a Christmas tree in the center, just in case there's too much white space around it. And then let's do the nice big one right here on this side. Just about half of it. Okay. So just quick and easy, random trees. And we are going to cover this with a layer of vellum. And that is the one that I'm missing. That's the die I'm missing. So we're going to pop this up on the front of the card. And because you'll be able to see through the vellum, I am going to put the dimensionals down the middle of the card, because I'm going to have the Christmas tree in the center, as you can see here. So I'm just adding 3 dimensionals, and then we're going to center this on the front of the card. Oops, not so quick there, buddy. Just like that. Okay? Now while we have this, let's add some glue to this layer, and we will adhere it to our blushing bride. Just don't want the glue to show through. I was having trouble with the glue showing through. I guess it was on Thursday. Or it could have been when I was creating my next craft box. Okay, so that's adhered. Now let's go and pop it up onto the front of the card so we can add the next things that have to be done. Okay. So did anybody go Black Friday shopping? I know so many people that enjoy it, and to be honest, I just can't do it. I usually do my shopping online. I can't stand the crowds. I panic. So it's just a very stressful trip for me. Okay, now we're going to take the tree and we're going to center it right here on this piece of vellum. And I want to pop this up. Yeah, you have to use just a little bit too. And I'm going to put the new dimensionals, and I'm going to line them up with the ones right underneath. Uh-oh. I hear Iggy crying to come in. Give me 1 second. All right, come on. Come on. Hurry up. Hurry up. Come on. My little crafting companion. Okay. So now we're just going to adhere this little tree. Yeah. And I'm just going to center it right on the center of this card. Just like that. Now, I know the Dazzling Diamond paper is not available anymore. And Kathy Fierst, I don't know if you have sent me a message yet, but for sharing my video, you actually were picked for the package of Dazzling Diamonds paper. So if you remember, send me a message so I can get that out to you. Alright, let's grab a piece of scrap paper here. And I'm going to use one that I was using before. And what I did is I die cut the garland, that's what I call it, the garland, out of the Dazzling Diamonds. And I'm going to grab my dark flirty flamingo, and I am going to color it. Now, if you do have this paper and you decide to color it, just beware that it is a rough surface. So you want to be a little bit gentle when you're adding the color to this paper so you don't ruin the point on your blends. I guess on some of the embellishments that we had that were a little rough, it didn't have a, hey gal, yeah, no black, me either, I don't like it. I was coloring embellishments and ruined the tip, so you just want to be careful with this paper because it is a little rough. But I'm just coloring this just to change the color. I wanted to go with the Blushing Bride, and I do use Flirty Flamingo on the other card. So it just ties the two cards. Okay, so we're going to just let that dry for a second. And I'm going to pull out my smoky slate and the stamp, Let Your Heart Be Light. Let me see where here it is. And we're just going to stick this on the block. And we're going to stamp the sentiment while that's drying. Put it towards the bottom. And I'm using, I know it's not available, the classic label punch. And we're just going to get that in there so it's straight. And just punch that out. And then I'm going to do additional one in the Blushing Bride. So I want to back it. For this one, I added Flirty Flamingo. Today, I'm doing the Blushing Bride. And the only reason is I just want to add a little something, oh, there we go again, to the end so the white doesn't get lost. It just adds a little something to the label. And you just want to make sure it's on there straight. Just like that. And then I'm going to grab some organdy ribbon, the white glittered organdy ribbon, while we're waiting. And we're just going to tie a bow. And I probably cut it too short, as I usually do. Oh, no, not too bad. Not too bad at all. I guess it's a little easier because I cut my nails. So now that we have our bow and our sentiment, we'll just put that aside. Let's grab our Dazzling Diamonds, and we're going to adhere this to the Christmas tree. And I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to get the edges if you wanted to. You could adhere an adhesive strip, a sheet to the paper before you die cut it, and then the whole piece will have adhesive behind it to make it just a little easier. But I figured with the dazzling diamonds, the paper is a little difficult to cut out, just so you know. I used like a wedge with the paper just to give it an extra layer to make it easier to cut out. And then we're just going to put this right on the front of the tree. Just like that. Changes the whole tree completely. So now we're going to grab our bow. Have to add our bow to the front of the card. Trim the tail. Now hopefully my glue dots are not frozen. Hey, Elizabeth. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Peggy. Are you angry, Peggy? I don't know what's going on. I know it's my internet, believe it or not. Last night, our internet went out, and then it popped back on. It went out 3 different times. I called the company, and I was so frustrated because our TV, we watch TV through the internet, not cable, and everything we do is on the internet. So when the internet goes out, we are, you know what, out of luck. And I spent probably 3 hours on the phone, and after one of the times the internet went out, I got a call from the company. It was an automated call saying that the service has been restored in your area. As soon as the woman on the recording said that the internet has been restored, it went out again. It was the most frustrating night, I can tell you. I have never been so upset. Craziness. Okay, so I'm going to pop up my sentiment. So I added 1 dimensional at the beginning of the Let Your Heart Be Light. On this side, I have to add 2 because the tree is up on 1, and if I put the sentiment up on 1, I need 2 at the end to keep it level. So we're just going to add 1 and then add 2. So I'm trying to think of a way to get an alternate internet, so God forbid one goes out, isn't that crazy? I'll have one that will work. So we'll see what happens. I'm just glad it wasn't on a night, it's a little crooked, on a night that I had a video. I would have been very upset. But everybody at the company is really nice. Okay, so that's on there straight. The one funny thing, though, I was on hold for so long. There must have been a lot of outages in the area. So I'm going to add my pearls while I'm yapping here. So we're done with our phone call, and the man, actually is a young boy, he said, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" And I said, actually, yes. I have one request. Please get in touch with your corporate offices and change the music while people are on hold. Because if you want happy customers, that is not the type of music you want to be playing. Oh my goodness, I wanted to take the boy's head off. The music was horrible. And he laughed at me. Okay, so there's the front of our first card. I had them in envelopes, so naturally my bow is crushed. Now for the inside, I did another tree, and then just put a strip of the dazzling diamonds that I colored. So let me grab that sheet, and we're going to color this in. Again, you want to be careful you don't ruin your brush. I could do it with the nib, but it would take me a long time. So you just want to go very lightly. That's probably about 4 inches. That looks good. And then we're going to take our layer, open up our Blushing Bride, and we're going to stamp our tree right here. Put it right here. Just so we have half a tree. And we're going to add some glue to our dazzling diamonds. And I'm actually going to put it right at the end. Now that it's sticking, I'm just going to hold it up and push it down so it's even with the table. I'm going to do the same thing this way. So this way I know it's on there straight. And then just flip it over. Give it a trim. And add my glue. Just want to put not a lot so it shows through. I'm actually going to just rub it a little bit. Oops. If I can get it on here straight. Now that I have glue on my fingers. And then let's add this to the center of the card, and card number 1 is done. I know too, Elizabeth, since Facebook has been changing things in groups and everything, the quality of videos, because I'm looking and I'm not having any issues, but on my iPad I am. And I think they're just, with so many changes going on right now, they're having I think that's what why we're having trouble with the lives. Okay, so there's card number 1. I hope you like that one. Let's go to card number 2. Now I'm using the Peaceful Place Designer Series paper. I don't think I need that blend anymore. So we're going to use basic white again, 8.5 by 5.5. And my score lines have been so off this week. What the heck is going on? Let's see if I can straighten this out. There we go. Okay. And then I have a layer of the slate gray. Now you can, if you wanted to, you could run this through with the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder, because you can see a little bit of it towards the bottom of the card. I chose not to on this card, but it is an option, or any embossing folder if you wanted to give this layer some texture. Okay, then I grabbed some more Blushing Bride, and what I did was I took the scallop. No, I'm not this time, Elizabeth. I'm going to take it and put it on YouTube. I figured I was going to try. I've been trying to see which way is better, because I do use the program StreamYard, on Thursdays. I want to see if I have a better time just doing it in the group and how it comes out compared to linking all three of them together. So I've been experimenting, and it looks like so far the stream metrics are pretty good. Okay, so I grabbed the scallop from the scallop contour dies, and I took a piece that is, I think it's should be 5 1/4 by 4. Nope, 5 1/8. So it's probably 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And what I did was I laid the scallop right along the edge, so each of the scallop touched the edge of the paper, and tried to get it as even on this last scallop as I could without measuring, just eyeballing it. Once I had that, I taped this scallop down to the plate on my embossing, on my cut and emboss machine, just so I know, so it would stay down and it would stay along the edge. And that's how I got this edge here. Then I cut the designer series paper from the Peaceful Place paper and cut it, and I think this is about 1/4 of an inch smaller. And now that this was already taped down on my embossing machine, I just grabbed my designer series paper, and this is on, on my plate, and I slid it under to line it up and to see if I could get it lined up on either side, and then die cut it. This way, when you adhere it to this layer, the scallops match. That's usually one thing that's very hard to do, is get those scallops to match. So, with that said, let's grab some glue, and we're going to adhere this to the pink. And I'm actually going to line it up from the top and these two sides so they're even. And just shift it a little bit. I want those scallops. There we go. And then I'm going to pop that up right on the front of the card. Let's get rid of these. Dimensionals. Alright, let's use this last little bit here. And I can get rid of that. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to center this right on the front of this card. Stand up so I can eyeball it before I push it down. And that looks pretty good. Next, I have another layer of the Blushing Bride, and this one also uses the scallop contour. And we're going to also pop this up onto the front of the card. Lots of dimensionals for this card. And we're going to center it. Right on this layer. So I'm not centering it with the card. I'm centering it on the Designer Series paper. That looks good. Then I have a piece of basic white to fit this inside the stitches, and it's 2 1/8 by 3 1/4. And this layer, we're actually going to take this cute little tree, and don't look at my blocks, they need cleaning again. And I'm going to grab the Blushing Bride, and I'm just going to randomly stamp some trees so it's not a blank piece of white paper. And I'm going to start in the center here, just like that. And I'm going to stamp off, and I'm going to stamp off. And you want to put them on here, not so they're all the same size. And we're going to pull our card back in, and we are going to adhere this to this scalloped frame. And I like to try to, I am covering the stitching on the top of the bottom on this one. I cut it a little bit too big. Next, I cut out these two pieces, one in Flirty Flamingo, one in Blushing Bride, and I'm going to layer these. The Flirty Flamingo I cut out so it would look like a shadow to the Blushing Bride. It's really the only reason I used an additional layer. And we're just going to layer these up, offsetting it just a tad. So it looks like it's a shadow behind the tree. See if I can pull this apart. Yep. Just want to move it over just a tad, because I just want it peeking through, just like that. And I'm just going to add some adhesive. Oops. A little too much there. And I'm just going to adhere this right about there on the front of the card. Then I grabbed the tailored tag dies, and I cut out one of the tags. Let me get my blending brush. And again, I'm grabbing my Blushing Bride, and I'm just going to add some color to the center of this tag, just so it's not stark white. Don't need to close that. I'm going to leave that open. And then I'm going to grab this stamp from the Whimsical Trees. Grab my, it's the little holly stamp. And I'm going to stamp that. Here's my berries right here. So I want the berries to be at an angle. So we're going to stamp that right there. And then I'm just going to move down, turn it around, look where my berries are, and just get my berries right on the corner there, just to fill in some space. Then I'm going to grab the stamp Wishing you Christmas cheer and magical moments that last all year. And I'm going to put it on here so I can make sure it's a little straight. Close up my blushing bride. Let me put my contour die back before I lose that one. You know I'm going to be on a hunt to find that other die. It's probably right here. Thanks, Peggy. It's, you know, the other die is probably floating here somewhere. Okay, so I put it on here as straight as possible, but you'll notice on the tag, I have the tag tilted, and I am going to stamp the sentiment on an angle. So if it is a little crooked, I can always just tilt the tag a little bit. So no mess up is always a disaster. So we're just going to stamp the sentiment, and that's not too bad. And I'm going to pull my pearls back in again. And I'm going to add 3 little pearls in the spots where the little berries are drawn. You can color them if you want. I wanted to leave them white. And that looks like it. So let's pull the card back in. I have one of the snowflakes. And you'll notice that the center of this snowflake is the same size and shape as our dimensionals. So all you have to do is line that dimensional up right into the center of that snowflake, and you don't see it on the other side. Brilliant. And we're going to take this snowflake and we're going to adhere it right here to the corner. And it looks like our tag is also up on dimensionals. And I told you there's lots of dimensionals. And what I'm going to do, I am going to add a little glue to the top because this is already on a dimensional. Add dimensionals to the bottom. I want the wishing you cheer to be pretty straight. So we'll just make sure that the sentiment is straight. And then we can tie a bow now. Let's pull some ribbon. I'm loving our ribbon storage. It makes life so easy that I don't have spools on my desk. It's one less thing on my desk. All I have to do is, as you heard, pull it out of the box and it stays put. And I cut just enough ribbon. So that was good. Okay. So there's our bow. Let's straighten out our little tail. Make sure they're straight. And we're just going to give them a little trim. And I am going to use this bow to cover up this little hole. I should make one for my glue dots. We're going to put the glue dot right here. So I want to cover that hole up. So there's the front of our card finished. For the inside, it's very simple. Let me see, did I color the... Yes, I did. I just have a strip of designer series paper. Hopefully might be cut just a little off. And I also have a strip of the Dazzling Diamonds. So I'm just going to grab my Flirty Flamingo again. And I'm using the nib this time. Can you hear the roughness of this paper? That's why I said you want to be careful. You don't want to ruin the tips of your blends. Okay. I'm going to put this on a little different. I'm going to put it on this way this time. And I'm going to add the glue to the layer. Let me add another strip for this one, because I think this is off. I don't think it is cut straight. So if I lay this one down first and eyeball it to get it on there straight. That looks straight. And then this one I can, let's go this way. Make sure it is leaving enough there. Whoops, it just shifted. See, this is what happens when you need to straighten up a cut. Okay. Hopefully that is on there straight. Let's check it out. I'll just pull in my cutter, line it up with the blade, and do the same thing here. And then there we go. It looks pretty straight. Not so quick and easy, but at least it straightened out my crooked cut. A little bit of glue so it doesn't show through. And get that on here and make sure it's centered. Oops. A runaway glue dot, look at that. And then we'll just adhere this to the inside of the card. Okay. So there we go. Another video, nice and clear, with the cards recreated and finishing up on the storage box for our embossing folders. So thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll probably pop on sometime tomorrow. I don't know, probably not with a card. I have some back office kind of things to take care of, and I'm creating another blog for somebody. So I hope you all have a great rest of the weekend. Just to, remember, if you're thinking about saving on your crafty goodness, thanks, Sharon. Just drop me a line. I'd love to talk to you about becoming a demonstrator and having you on my team. So have a great rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.